looking at the evaluation of conservation performance in the cropland regions, and a way of testing the conservation measurement tool that is often used for Farm Bill programs like the Conservation Stewardship Program. Just a comment or two about our webinar. The webinar will be recorded and be made available online later, coming days. To ask a question for our presenter, you'll have to use the Q&A tab at the top of your live meeting frame, and you can simply type in your question there, and we'll take questions at the end. You can only enter one question at a time, and then once that question's been entered and answered, we can remove that question, and you can ask another question. With that being said, I think that's all the details I need to go over. And Ho-Young, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for joining my webinar this afternoon. As introduced, my name is Ho-Young Wang, and I'm currently working as a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Illinois. My research has focused on utilizing process-based models to develop sustainable management practice and investigate the current environmental issues. Today I'm going to present about the evaluation work using the process-based model. Before starting my webinar, I'd like to acknowledge my collaborator, who are Dr. Carmen Gotte, Dr. Susan Andrews, and Dr. Michelle Wanda. As a background information on my presentation, I'd like to first talk about Conservation Stewardship Program, CSP. This program is comprehensive conservation program of USDA NRCS. It was adapted from the Conservation Security Program that was part of the 2002 Farm Bill, and then it was established in the 2008 Farm Bill. The CSP was designed to address particular resource concerns related to various ecosystem services provided by a given farm management practice. Also, this program is designed to encourage producers to manage, maintain, and expand the conservation, the activities on their land by rewarding payment to them. Producers who want to enroll this program can submit their application to local NRCS service centers. Then applications are evaluated with so-called conservation measurement tool. Finally, NRCS determines the payment that the producers will receive if the applicant rank for some. The Conservation Measurement Tool, CMT, is an expert tool to evaluate conservation performance by ranking management practice according to their influence on the specific resource concern. The CMT scores questions related to current farm management practice against 8 macro resource concerns and 27 micro resource concerns. The 8 macro resource concerns include soil erosion, soil quality, water quantity and quality, air quality, plants, animal, the energy conservation. These 8 macro resource concerns are further broken down into micro resource concerns that were chosen as best representing the significant resource issues on working land. This is an example of the worksheet, including the question related to current farm management practice that are require information for evaluating the CSP application. The CMT is basically Excel spreadsheet model, or we can call tool. It consists of the question and macro resource concern. In this example, I showed the soil erosion concern and micro concern. Soil erosion macro concern has 4 different micro concerns. And the CMT has a relative environmental effect of the question on the each resource concern, which is scale of the -5 to the 5 based on the conservation practice physical effects scoring system. While the CMT is sensitive to the specific management practice applied to individual farms, it simplifies regional factors. In other words, it does not account for local soil and climate characteristics. Because this information can determine farm performance and environmental risk to some extent, we questioned whether consideration of these regional factors in the CMT would be necessary to improve CMT's performance at the regional level scale. Also, the various ways for the effect of the management practice to resource concern are needed to evaluate where the score used by the CMT questionnaire properly estimate the benefit derived from the use of the various management practices. In this example, I list 5 different management practices and against 2 macro concerns, or erosion concern and soil quality concern, and this is the micro resource concern. And as you can see, you can see the score for each practice for each micro concern. The objective of this study was to develop an evaluation framework in order to investigate the performance of the CMT in U.S. Cropland region. Especially, we utilized process-based model to attain such goal. We first generated county-specific scenarios using regionally dominant practice and CMT's the conservation practice related to the proxies for the soil erosion and soil quality resource concern as considered by CMT. Then we simulate these scenarios using 2 process-based models, which are Russell 2 for the predicting soil erosion rate and soil conditioning index, and surrogate density model for predicting soil carbon sequestration rate. Finally, we analyze the influence of the regions and practice on the model prediction. Before detailing the procedure to develop the modeling framework used for this study, I'd like to briefly explain about the definition of the model and process-based model. The model can be defined as a representation of the real system through the use of the mathematical equation or relationship. Based on the complexity of the model can be ranged from the very complex process model, which stimulates various process within the specific ecosystem, to generalized empirical model, which includes a few linear linear and the nonlinear equation. Currently, process-based models applied to agro-ecosystems are widely employed by agronomists and environment scientists in order to improve our understanding of the biogeochemical processes in agro-ecosystems and to test hypothetical scenarios of the farm management practice and to analyze the future response of the agro-ecosystem to climate change. Typically, process-based model for the agro-ecosystem integrate three distinct categories of the sub-models to simulate important processes such as crop growth, hydrology, and soil organic matter cycle. The process models associated with the crop growth include the phenology and leaf area dynamics and radiation intersection and carbon and nutrient partitioning. In the hydrologic submodel, calculate the evapotranspiration and runoff, drainage and irrigation, and the soil organic matter submodel to calculate the soil organic matter decomposition rate and also calculate allocation of the carbon and nutrient to the different soil organic matter pool. Within submodels, the model state variables are calculated the given important information such as crop data, including precipitation, temperature, and solar radiation, and the management options, including the crop cultivar, the planting date and density, fertilizer application rate, and finally soil characteristics, including the texture and saturated hydrotic conductivity, and so on. Among many model state variables, the crop yield and nutrient reaching and soil carbon sequestrations are considered as important model state variable for model output. In my study, I focus on the soil carbon sequestration and soil erosion rate. The first step developed an evaluation framework was to select proper process-based model, where model's prediction can be related to the soil erosion and soil quality macro concern. Our selection of the model was the Russell 2, revised universal soil loss equation 2, and surrogate century model. Because this model predicts soil erosion and the soil carbon sequestration rate varies with the regional factors and conservation practice, it is perfect model for our purpose. Russell 2 is a well-known soil erosion model. Russell 2 has been applied worldwide to predict soil erosion using information about topography, weather, soil type, soil cover management, and soil erosion reducing practice. Importantly, Russell 2 also calculates the soil conditioning index. The soil conditioning index, SCI, has been used by the NRCS in conservation planning to estimate whether implemented conservation practice will increase or decrease organic matter level. The SCI has the form of the pedal transfer function has summed the weighted sub-factors contributing to outcome of the concern. The three sub-factors considered for the SEI is OM and FO-ER. OM factor accounts for the organic matter returned to the soil, FO represents the field operation defect, and ER is erosion amount. The negative SEI would indicate soil organic carbon loss. To estimate the change in the soil carbon stock, we use the surrogate century model which I developed. The surrogate century model is based on century organic matter model. The century model has been developed late 1980s, and since then it has been applied across the wide geographical range and various spatial scale. Importantly, this century serves as the base of the National Online Carbon Management Evaluation Tool for COMET-DR. So this century is very important model among many other this type of model. This century model represents soil carbon dynamics by using the conceptual models such as the above ground residue and below ground residue and surface active pool and soil active, slow, and passive. This active, slow, and passive, along with other pool, has different turnover time, different decay rate. This surrogate century model I recently developed, where this surrogate model has the same mass balance and decomposition kinetic equation for the century pools and carbon pool, but this model equations are coded and solved using the non-linear regression routine of the SAS statistical package, which is model procedure of the SAS. Because this model utilizing SAS, the non-linear regression procedure, this surrogate century model can effectively run century simulation for the various scenarios. Important difference between the century and the surrogate models are that the surrogate model is decoupled from the model of the plant growth and nutrient cycling and hydrologic process described within the century and other century-related models. This provides the advantage of the transparency and the simplicity, while allowing the modeler using the surrogate model century to easily modify important century input, including the plant carbon input rate to soil. Also, this surrogate century model is capable of accounting for the soil erosion and compaction, which are not presently considered in century model. Second step is to select the key conservation, the practice models. In this study, we focus on the 5 management practice: the residue management practice, is no-till, and contouring and contour buffer strip, and terrace, and the strip cropping. This was selected because their effect can be related to the micro concerns of the soil erosion and soil quantity that can be predicted using Russell 2 and surrogate century model. To develop the scenarios for our modeling work, we selected 60 counties in 24 states that were subject to data mining and meta-analysis conducted by the colleague who is Dr. Carmen Guarde. Her study was to evaluate the effect of the management practice on soil carbon sequestration using literature value and data mining. To identify the dominant crop rotation and soil texture to develop county-specific scenarios, so we use the National Statistics and the Remote Sensing database. This is a result from the analyzing remote sensing database and national statistics. We could identify major crop rotation and dominant soil type and each the counties. Finally, we ran scenarios using the two models. Russell 2 scenarios were run by selecting county-specific information. For example, county name and location, soil type and topography, and representative management practice from the list of the options provided by the modeling aid. Russell 2 has very solid national database of the climate, soil topography, and land use. It is very good advantage to using Russell 2. Compared to Russell 2 model run, surrogate model run is quite complex. It requires first to reconstruct the previous farming management history prior to present the period. In this case, I divided the entire simulation period in 4 segments: pre-steam and early agricultural period, modern agricultural period, and project period, based on the 5-year contract period of the CSP program. For each period, I calculate the important model input, such as the carbon input rate to the soil and weather effect on soil carbon decay. The estimation of the carbon input rate to the soil was calculated by using the historical record of the crop yield and agronomic data, which are the harvest index to strip ratio. Using this information, I could calculate how much above ground residue carbon going to be into the soil and how much kilogram residue carbon going to be added into the soil. And then also the other model input, which is the weather effect on soil carbon decay, was calculated from the monthly temperature and precipitation, and I could easily extract this information from the Russell 2 database. And in the surrogate century model simulation, modeling scenarios incorporate soil erosion rate estimated from the Russell 2, so that soil carbon sequestration rate modeled in the model reflect the change in the stock resulting from the use of the different conservation practices. Finally, we used the analysis of the various tests to evaluate the effect of the practice and regions on soil erosion and soil conditioning index, SDI, and soil carbon sequestration rate, modeled in the Russell 2 and then surrogate century model. We sorted model prediction by land resource region to expedite this statistical analysis. For your information, land resource region is defined as a geographical area aggregated by particular patterns of the soil, geology, climate, the water resources, and the land use. The LRR having more than 2 counties were included in the statistical analysis. This result 46 counties from the 4 LRR, P, H, M, N. This is map for the 30 counties. As I mentioned right before, we focus on the 4 LRR. This is results from our modeling work. The ANOVA test on the model, the rate of the soil erosion showed the significant effect of the LRR and practice on soil erosion rate, while there was no significant effect of the interaction between the LRR and practice. Among LRR, the mean erosion rate estimated in the southeastern LRRP was significantly higher than rate predicted in the other 3 LRR. This mean comparison shows significant higher value in the LRRP than the others. And lowest rate of the soil erosion was predicted in the western region, LRH, based on the 8 counties in the Kansas and Texas considered in our analysis. Comparison among the 5, 6, the management practice we modeled show the erosion rate under no-till within each LRI was the most significant lower than other practice model. When we quantify the effect of the LRI and conservation practice on soil quality macro concern by using the SDI, we found positive mean SDI predicted in the LRRM. This score was significantly higher than the SDI estimated in other LRRs due to the larger the input of residue return to soil in the LRRM. Positive, the SCI was also the predicted for the no-till scenarios, while other 5 practices show negative, the SCI. Like the ANOVA test on the soil erosion and SDI, soil carbon sequestration rate was significantly higher in M, also N. And as with the SDI, the use of the no-till was predicted to significantly increase the soil carbon sequestration compared to the other practice. Finally, we compared the CMT rank of the conservation practice with normalized score based on modeled soil erosion rate, SCI, and soil carbon sequestration rate. And this is CMT, the rank for each practice, and this is normalized erosion score compared to the conventional tillage practice. This type of the comparison could be useful to improve the CMT scoring rank scheme. In summary, the result predict a higher erosion rate for the LRP than LRH and M and N, and lower erosion rate for the no-till practice predicted than other practice. And Russell 2 and Sandler predicted higher SCI and soil carbon sequestration rate for the M than P, H, and N, and also higher the SCI and soil carbon sequestration rate for the no-till practice than other practice. So this might indicate that the CMT scoring might be improved by a higher rating of the residue management practice and the regional rising weighting scheme. And further studies would be to investigate the other LRR, whether our conclusion could be applied to the other region. And furthermore, to develop the strategy and the modeling framework to the one outline here to permit the agency to estimate the effect of the precision conservation that was currently developed by CMT. Thank you. Let me have any questions.
All right, thank you, Ho Young. At this time, remind people that they can submit a question in writing by using the Q&A tab at the top of the live meeting frame. And I'd also invite people at the center here with me to ask a question over the phone line. Any questions? Okay, I've got one question. Here's a couple coming in. Did you compare model output with data mining results?
Yes, actually we compare that the model up with data mining, which is conducted by my colleague, and then we are still analyze the comparison to publish that work.
And did you include wind erosion?
Yes, actually that is very good question because Russell 2 estimate on the water erosion. We utilize the estimate of the wind erosion from the NRI, the report, which report the wind erosion from the state level. So we include that wind erosion in order to estimate the soil carbon sequestration rate.
and still taking questions. Any further questions? Well, hearing none, I'd like to thank our presenter one last time and thank all of you for listening in, for your time and attention, and enjoy the rest of your day. And that will conclude our webinar.